Hey guys, Friday, July 24th. It is day number 131 of At Home Fitness with Coach A. We are going to go about this a little differently today. We've got a lot of posterior chain work, some strength, some conditioning, some awkward, as well as a core piece at the end. Everything's going to kind of have some pacing to it, so to speak. So everything's going to be EMOM style, max effort style in a sense. All right, so without further ado, let's get to it and then I'll demonstrate it for you guys. So the first piece that's going to be listed as a strength is going to be two movements done alternating minute and a half pieces. Okay, so at go, we do the first one at 1.5 minutes. We do the second one. We go back to the first one at 3. At 4:30, we do the second one again. All right, we're going to do each one 4 times. Okay, so if you're doing the math on that, so 3, it's going to take 12, 13.5 minutes, however you want to look at it. All right, so the first one is going to be, it's a big window here for the reps, 12 to 20 weighted glute bridge. Okay, this can also be a hip thrust if you have the ability to do a hip thrust. Now, the reason for 12 to 20 is I want it to be high reps, but that's kind of based off the weight you guys have. So if you have a barbell that you can load up and 12 reps is very challenging for you to get, 12 is good. Most people probably don't have that kind of weight. And whether you're doing it with a glute bridge, which you're going to see in a second, with me holding dumbbells on my thighs, or if you're doing it in a hip thrust position with a barbell, kettlebells, whatever it might be, banded up, um, no more than 20 in terms of how many I want you to accumulate. One, from a time perspective, but also two, it's just a lot of fatigue that we're starting to build at that point. And that's going to have an adverse effect on what's going forward. So 12 to 20 weighted glute bridge or hip thrust. Second movement is going to be a weighted reverse slider lunge. Okay, if you can't weight this, that's fine. Your back foot in the lunge that's sliding back is either going to be on a towel, and you guys are going to see me demonstrate this, or a furniture slider of some kind that's going to slide back, and it's going to slide back up as the front leg and hip and glute extends back through. Okay, so 6 to 8 each leg. Those both have to be done in that minute and a half. So you want to be able to get through those. That's what I'm saying. If weight slows you down, then let's obviously take that weight out of there and focus on that hip. If that front hip isn't accurately and smoothly getting you out of that lunge, same thing. We're creating a problem instead of creating something that's an opportunity for adaptation. All right, second thing today, which is going to be listed as a workout, it's going to be a 10-minute alternating EMOM. Minute one is going to be Russian kettlebell swings. It's programmed for 20 of them at a normal weight, 53.35. Yes, I understand that's going to get close to, for some of you, taking the whole minute. That is fine. All right, for some of you should be able to efficiently blow through that in about 30 seconds, maybe less, depending on who it is. In which case, we have 5 rounds, essentially, of those 20 Russian kettlebell swings. Second movement is going to be 30 band pull-aparts at your chest, okay? Be cognizant of the fact that as this gets further in, especially with the fatigue from the first thing we did as a strength, those two movements might cause your mid to upper back to fatigue enough that those kettlebell swings start to round off. I'll demonstrate that in a minute so you guys have something you can look for. But I want you to be very cognizant of that and also cognizant of the fact you're not pulling the kettlebell out of the hips early as that fatigue increases as well. All right, and then the third and final piece, the core piece that I talked about earlier, is going to be a 1-minute plank hold for max weight. Now, your hips posterior chain should be pretty damn fatigued at this point. So if you start with very lightweight on your back, that's fine. I don't care if you do 30 seconds with like a 10 pounder and you're like, I got this for a minute. This isn't going to be my score. You can drop it, right? All I'm concerned about is one set of 1-minute hold with the highest weight that you're going to use. Now, the caveat to that is if you try it with a higher weight and you fail, that's fine. We still have that 1-minute score from the previous weight, so to speak. Okay. If you have any questions, post scores, post weights you guys used. If you've never done the slider lunge before, post that. Let me know how it went. Maybe even send me a video and I'll be able to help you out if something feels a little off or things like that. All right, stick around for demonstrations. All right, guys, welcome to the garage gym for another demonstration. Here we go with Friday's work. So, first piece is going to be that quote-unquote strength piece. I say quote-unquote because pretty much everything today falls into the same kind of category. So, I'm going to demonstrate the dumbbell, double dumbbell weighted glute bridge here, and then in the modification video at the end, I'm going to give you pretty much all the other different ways you guys can do this. So, feet coming back towards the butt. Knees are essentially going to be somewhere in the range of 90 degrees. Now, the further back I bring them, usually the more glutes I'm going to use, the more I walk them away, the more hamstrings is going to be involved there. So, I'm going to take my dumbbells and I'm going to stack them on my hips on each side. From there, shoulders stay down, squeeze the butt, push through the feet, specifically, feet slid a little bit there, push through the heels, but make sure we keep that big toe down. All right, tension in the big toe. And for reps, drop the butt, squeeze it back through, just working through that short range of motion for hip extensor. All right, now to the one everybody's been waiting for, the reverse slider lunge. I'm going to use a towel. I have some sliders here. It's a little bit easier to demonstrate, but it's not going to be as normal for you guys because most of you are probably going to end up using this towel. I do have this on some hardwood on the platform, which should function almost exactly like a hardwood floor, maybe even a little more challenging than a hardwood floor. So if this works here, it should definitely work at home on your hardwood floor. In this scenario, left leg is going to be the one doing the work. It's the front leg. Right leg is going to be the sliding lunge, so to speak. So come up on the toes, let that knee bend, drop down, and I'm mostly driving down into the ground and pushing through the left hamstring and hip, squeezing the left butt cheek, if you will, to get those hips to extension. Okay. So again, we're looking at 12 to 20 on those, 1.5 minute and a half, and we're looking at 6 to 8 reps each side on these, the next minute and a half. All right, so I got some irony for you guys on this demonstration. I literally just sold my kettlebell set this morning, so I can get some new ones coming up. So for the 10-minute alternating EMOM of Russian kettlebell swings and band pull parts, I don't have a kettlebell to demonstrate with, so I'm going to demonstrate with a modification. All right, so you guys obviously aren't going to see this modification at the end in the modification video, but I'm going to use a dumbbell for my Russian kettlebell swings. As we've done before, the throwing hip extension, if you will, I can also do those by making sure the feet are a little bit closer, getting the dumbbell swinging, squeezing the glutes, snapping the hamstrings, and popping it out there in front. Be ready to let that slow, by the way, as you finish that last rep, as opposed to having it come crashing down and swinging your spine around. Now, pairing that with the chest band pull apart. A couple things I want to make sure I focus on here. Nice straight line across the pecs to the hands, okay? We start here, try to get right angle here. We start here, we stay here, all right? It's not this for the most part, okay? Second thing is we want to make sure the shoulders coming together, creating tension, almost like a chest fly would create flexion, everything coming together here. Same thing is happening on the back of the shoulders, okay? So it's not just that those shoulders are staying in place and the arms are going out, making this kind of a posterior shoulder tricep exercise. It's that the shoulders are actually coming back together. The elbows are also probably going to travel back together. All right, lastly, for our prescribed workouts today, I'm sure most of us have done a weighted plank pull before, but just in case, I want to make sure you guys are putting it in the right place and that you are getting into it properly. So here's how I do it. I take my plate, I set it on my heels and rest it against my butt, okay? From there, I will hinge over, slide it up so that it is essentially touching the shoulders,
and touching a belt line, so my waist. All right, if we're gonna do this on the hands, pop right up in the position from there, making sure we are as straight shoulders to heels as possible. If we were gonna do it on the elbows, I would start to drop the elbows down first, and then extend the legs and the hips. Again, shoulders to heels, as straight of a position as we can be in. Focus on your breathing, your grounding, and then obviously the bracing for the plank.
Stay tuned for movement modifications.
Alright guys, let's talk modifications, hip thrusts. Instead of that weighted glute bridge, shoulder blades are up on the edge of the bench. Let's call this a barbell sitting on the hips. From here, it's pretty much the same movement for the hip thrust as the glute bridge. Squeeze the glutes, hamstrings, create extension, drop back down, create extension, okay? A couple things I'm looking for real quick on this is when we get to the top of this position, the chin is down, okay? The chin is not falling back, the head is not looking up. That's gonna create arch in the spine that's gonna be detrimental to the strength of the position. Secondly, the front of the ankle is in front of the knee. The knees are not getting out in front of the ankles, okay? It's going to change the distribution of where the work's being done, where the weight is sitting, and get us out of an optimal position that is going to be a glute and hamstring strengthening position. All right. As far as the weighting is concerned, the loading, barbell, I can use the dumbbells that I had earlier if I want to do this instead of being on the ground. Obviously, this is a little bit more advantageous to a barbell as opposed to the glute bridge on the floor because your shoulders are elevated. Oftentimes, glute bridge on the floor, if you have a barbell and full-size plates, it's going to touch the ground before your hips actually get all the way down. Okay? If all we have is a band, there is a way to do this with a band, and that is simply to attach the band to something that is on the ground, maybe even to the feet of the bench, have it strung over the hips, and push through from there. All right? The challenge there is figuring out the distance the band needs to travel, how much stretch we have, how much elasticity we have, what can actually hold it down, etc., etc. If you need some help with that, send me some pictures and videos of what you guys have, and I'll be able to walk you through and help you with that. Now, in terms of the sliding versus lunge step, if you can physically do it with the slide, I would like you to do it with the slide. Remember I said if you guys can weight it, that's fine, feel free to weight it. But there is a difference between letting it slide and stepping back and pushing back forward. And that difference is, on a step, most people are going to do some of the work with their back leg. The back leg's having the slide, it's a lot easier not to utilize that hip to come back out of the lunge, okay? Moving on to the workout, we talked about the Russian kettlebell swings. Obviously I did them with dumbbells. If all we have is a barbell or plate, we can always swing the plate if we want to, or swing the plates if they're small enough, similar to the dumbbells. We can do RDLs with the barbell. We can even do an RDL or a hang, kind of an upright pull, getting the hips through in connection with the arms and shoulders. Pull aparts, we can always do a reverse fly or a hinged over T position. And then we talked about in the past with the bands, how you guys can always attach that band to an anchor point behind us, push down to the ground, squeeze the glutes, give through hip extension, and work on it from there. If you have any questions, let me know. I know there's a lot of stuff there. If you guys can't do a weighted plank, by the way, max plank hold, try and get to that minute. Otherwise, go for something a little bit more, okay? By the way, if you can find a way to anchor a band for the glute bridge or the hip thrust, that is probably also the same way that you can anchor a band to give you extra resistance on that plank hold, just looping it up over our hips or lower back as opposed to the front side of your hips for the glute hamstring action.